How's it going, and welcome to the 2026 review of LaneSplit, the Mad Maxi, Giga Squid, strangely therapeutic and stress-inducing criminal activity motorbike sim, or game. But we'll get into that. As you may have just seen, there are 3 maps currently available to play on LaneSplit: Zendaya Loop, Grimmel Spiral, and Atlantic City. All of these maps ultimately use a chain of roads full of traffic. The amount is adjustable, and the goal is to not crash and to, you guessed it, lane split as much as possible to score points and improve your rankings on an overall leaderboard. You can also unlock new bikes the higher score you achieve, which presumably go faster. I'm currently on the starter bike, which looks like some battered fairingless sport bike. I can only imagine the wind would be savage at 130 plus miles per hour with no screen to tuck behind, but we move. I'm playing on controller, the preferred method as far as I can see, and the controls feel nice. It's pretty easy to pick up and play. You can lean left and right, but not like in the MotoGP games where if you go too far left or right, you loop out. It's just enough to turn the bike without risking over-inputting. Visually, the game uses a super wide FOV and a sort of camera shake that gives you the perception of speed, and it's quite immersive. Combined with the evening time setting, super loud bike and busy traffic, I found it's a game I got sucked into and almost zoned out of while having to focus on what's going on around me. Not a million miles away from how it feels when I'm actually on a bike, minus the weaving through traffic. The game also plays great. I've got it on ultra settings and it's very smooth and immersive. Graphics are good enough that you get the feeling of the space and the road around you, with some nice reflections and lights passing cars and puddles. In this clip, I've got the traffic on normal. After this session, I've upped it to heavy traffic, which increased the experience on most of the maps. The game uses a worldwide rating per map, with scores based off how long you go without crashing and how many close passes you have to other vehicles. My goal for this first session was to hit 10k points, you can see that in the bottom right hand corner, to get used to the feel of the game before going and trying the other maps. Motorbike games are in a weird space. They're significantly less than car games, and outside of the big MotoGP and MX series, you have to do some digging to find some viable options. I'm hoping to play through a range of motorbike games, reviewing them and seeing what the best pick is for you depending on what you're looking for. Currently, I've got Ride 4, 5 and 6, MX bikes, Dakar 18, GP bikes, Midnight Bike, MotoGP, MX vs ATV Legends, The Crew, and probably some others I'm forgetting. If you have any suggestions of games to look at, please let me know, and I'll be sure to check them out. But back to LaneSplit. The game was released in January 2026 by developers Funky Mouse. I had a look and they have 2 games available on Steam, LaneSplit and an airsoft first-person shooter. The game seems to still be in development, with one map currently having a rework, and currently there have been reasonably limited amounts of customization and features in the game. That being said, I do think they've got a good thing here. There's something super satisfying about flying through traffic on a bike and squeezing through gaps that would not be possible in a car that rival car games with the same premise. The FOV and first-person camera angles really add to the immersion, and I found that I wanted to beat my score and get a better run each time I loaded up the game. I had a look through the reviews to see what other people thought. They might have put more hours into the game than I have, and to be honest, it's a pretty mixed bag. A slightly more positive mixed bag, but still. Those negative comments spoke about the lack of character and bike customization, and said that the point system for unlocking new bikes is incredibly grindy. This isn't something I'm too bothered by, as I found it still fun chopping through traffic on the starter bike, and when I unlocked the next one up, I did feel like it was a big step up, so I'm in no rush to jump to the bikes right at the end of the game. The game is currently only available on Steam, but some googling did suggest that console versions were in the works. At the time of recording, the price is £9.89, with the normal full price being £14.99. Depending on how you work out the value of the game, you can make your own decision. For the £10, I think it's worth it. I can see myself sinking at least 20 hours into this game, especially with the online lobbies available to play with friends. Here's an overview of the bike selection screen. There's a range of models, many of which are clearly inspired by real-world bikes. Initially, I thought it was total points that unlocked a bike, with 2 10k runs unlocking the 20,000 point bike, but I'm pretty sure it's actually the highest score in a single run, which would make getting the higher level bikes incredibly difficult and time consuming to unlock. This would reflect what I saw across the reviews, but I'm not certain on the system used. There's a mix of sport bikes, a couple of scooters and dirt bikes, each with varying speed, traction, handling and other stats. I realise in post-recording that you can't see this because my fat head is in the way, but it's shown in the top right corner. Customization is limited. You can basically choose the colour of various parts of the bike, but it does have quite an arcadey and non-realistic application on the bike. In future, it would be great to see these colour options polished up a bit and more customization options with the exhaust, chain and seat, for example. The second map is Grimsall Spiral, a Scandinavian 2-lane winding series of roads with two-way traffic. This felt like a welcome change to the motorway approach used on Sandia Loop. Visually, this map is also very nice, with great lighting and scenery, as well as that dark, moody feel that we saw on the other maps. I wasn't certain of which way to go at the start of this run, or which side of the road to be on, but I just quickly figured it out. This map is definitely quite a bit harder to hold your speed, with more tight corners, oncoming traffic and less space. It felt different enough to the first map that it kept me engaged, and when squeezing between an oncoming car and the car in front, I held my breath on a few occasions, not wanting the run to end. Overall, I like this map, not quite as much as going full throttle at all times on the motorway, but I'm impressed at how they've made the same premise feel different with the varied setups and traffic profiles. Following the northern lights was a nice little touch, really adding to the immersion of the game and made me feel like I was on the other side of the world to the first map I played. Steam claims single player, online PvP and co-op. I'm assuming PvP is the score leaderboard and the co-op is just riding around together, but I could see it being a platform for point-to-point races in the future. Atlantic City was the final map, and it's currently having a rework, and I have to say, of the three, I can see why. I think the premise of having a city centre to fly about on is very appealing, but it's hard to maintain your speed in a square map made up of grids. The map features an overpass and a sort of ring road around the outside of the map, which I kept finding myself getting onto and struggled to leave. I could see this map being used as a lap-based race, or for some sort of hide-and-seek or police chase really well, but in its current format, it's slightly lacking compared to others. I had a few moments like this on the bike, where I'd hit something, a car or a wall, and I'd sort of ping up in the air and land back still on the bike without having the ragdoll effect. I'm not sure if that problem's specific to this map, or if that's the new bike that I'd recently unlocked. I also found that even with heavy traffic turned on, it never seemed that busy anywhere compared to other maps. Overall, this map is the closest to an open world approach, and that is really exciting. I think it needs slightly more refinement to get that ideal setup. I could really see this being used for a police chase or a circuit-based race in the future. The final aspect of LaneSplit I wanted to touch on was arguably the one I'm most excited for. The game features online co-op. You can host servers to play on any of the maps with your friends. While I've not done this with friends just yet, it is something I'll be looking to in the near future. For now, I joined an available server hosted by one Gabriel Owners. When I got into the server, I could see two small triangles. I was assuming these were the other people on the server. After some deliberation, I thought the best approach was just to get a move on and try and catch them up. One thing I did learn quite quickly online is that ping and server delay are not ideal when trying to thread the needle between two cars at 150 miles per hour, and I felt like I was getting knocked off the bike when I was riding past cars rather than hitting them. It is worth noting that the ping on the server was around 120, so I'm not sure if it was this server specifically why this kept happening, or if there's a problem with the online generally. I expect it's probably the former of the two. After about 5 minutes of riding around, I had no sight of the other players, so decided to stop worrying about that and test out the new bike I'd unlocked around the circuit I first rode. The goal on my first run was to hit 10k, and I got about 9,800 from memory. And I thought I should give it a go and see if I can get more than that before closing the game for the evening. I'll let this play out, so stick around if you'd like to, but if not, I'd summarise LaneSplit with the following. I think the game is reasonably priced for the product. The level of immersion and arcadey, simple controls feel like a nice nod back to older games while maintaining a decent level of graphics and smoothness. It's not a sim, but I think that kind of adds to it. It's a game where you can turn the music up, open the throttle, and go hell for level with a big grin on your face. If you're tempted to give it a go, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear which bike game you think I should check out next. Cheers.